Do you believe in ghosts? It's a simple question, yet it opens a door to one of humanity's oldest and most persistent mysteries. For thousands of years, we've whispered stories of spirits who linger after death. These tales are shared around campfires, in darkened rooms, and across the vast expanse of the internet. They speak of unfinished business, of love that transcends the grave, and of warnings from beyond. The idea that some part of us might survive our physical demise is a powerful and deeply rooted concept. It touches on our greatest fears about the unknown, and our most profound hopes for an existence beyond the one we know. These stories are not confined to one culture or a single moment in time. They're a universal thread woven into the fabric of human history. The story of ghosts begins not in a Gothic castle, but in the sun-baked lands of ancient Mesopotamia. The earliest known ghost story was etched onto clay tablets over 3,000 years ago. It tells the tale of a restless spirit, the ghost of a young man who was improperly buried, and thus could find no peace in the underworld. The ancient Egyptians also had a complex relationship with the spirits of the dead. Their entire funerary culture, with its elaborate mummification, grand tombs, and the famous Book of the Dead, was designed to ensure a smooth transition to the afterlife. They believed a person's spirit had multiple parts, including the Ba and the Ka. In ancient Greece and Rome, ghosts became characters in philosophy, literature, and everyday superstition. The Roman author Pliny the Younger penned one of the most famous classical ghost stories, a detailed account of a haunted house in Athens. In his tale, a specter rattling chains would appear until a philosopher bravely followed it, discovered its improperly buried bones, and gave them a proper burial. The Bible, while not a collection of ghost stories in the modern sense, speaks frequently of a spiritual world that coexists with our own. One of the most cited examples is the story of the Witch of Endor, whom King Saul consults to summon the spirit of the prophet Samuel. The appearance of Samuel's apparition rising from the earth like a god confirmed for many that contact with the dead was possible, even if it was forbidden and dangerous. As Christianity spread across Europe, it merged with and often repurposed older pagan beliefs. The medieval period became a time rich with supernatural lore. The Catholic concept of purgatory, a place where souls were purified before entering heaven, provided a perfect explanation for ghosts. They would appear to the living, asking for prayers and masses to be said in their name to shorten their time in purgatory. In Ireland, the wail of the banshee, a female spirit, was said to foretell a death in a family. Across Europe, tales of vampires, considered a type of revenant or one who returns, spread fear. These were not the suave aristocrats of later fiction, but shambling, malevolent corpses that rose from their graves to plague their families and villages. The medieval world was one where the supernatural was an accepted part of reality. Ghosts were not just stories, they were neighbors, albeit from another realm. The 19th century witnessed an unprecedented explosion of interest in ghosts and the afterlife, a movement known as spiritualism. The séance became a popular parlor activity where people would gather in darkened rooms, hold hands, and wait for a sign from the spirit world, a rapping on the table, a floating trumpet, or a ghostly whisper from the medium. This obsession was fueled by new technologies that seemed to offer tangible proof of ghosts. The most captivating of these was spirit photography. Photographers like William H. Mumler claimed to be able to capture images of spirits alongside their living relatives. These photographs, often showing a hazy, transparent figure hovering over a seated subject, became immensely popular. While many of these images were later exposed as simple double exposures or other darkroom tricks, their impact was profound. The Victorians didn't just invite ghosts into their homes, they also immortalized them in their literature. Ghost stories became a hugely popular genre, with authors like Charles Dickens penning classics such as A Christmas Carol. The Victorian ghost was frequently a tragic figure, a victim of circumstance deserving of pity rather than fear. The 20th century brought ghosts into the bright lights of the cinema, fundamentally changing how we pictured them. The 1984 blockbuster Ghostbusters was a turning point, transforming ghosts from sources of dread into paranormal pests that could be dealt with using high-tech equipment and a good dose of humor. This film, along with others like Casper the Friendly Ghost, introduced the idea that ghosts could be fun, friendly, or even comedic. The rise of found-footage horror films like The Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity brought a new kind of terror into our homes. The ghost was no longer a special effect on a screen but a glitch in our own technology, a shadowy figure caught on a familiar security camera or a demonic voice on a simple audio recorder. This style of filmmaking blurred the line between fiction and reality, making hauntings feel more personal and plausible than ever before. The arrival of reality television in the 21st century gave birth to the modern ghost hunting show. Programs like Ghost Hunters, featuring taps, turned paranormal investigation into a mainstream hobby. Viewers watched as teams of investigators explored reputedly haunted locations, armed with night vision cameras, EMF meters, and digital voice recorders. They empowered audiences to believe they too could become ghost hunters, simply by using the technology they already had in their pockets. While the image of a transparent, chain-rattling figure is common in the West, ghost lore around the world is incredibly diverse. In Japan, for example, the most well-known ghost is the yūrei. These are often depicted as pale figures in white burial kimonos, with long black hair obscuring their faces. Yūrei are typically souls held back from a peaceful afterlife by a powerful emotion, such as a desire for revenge, love, or sorrow. They are tied to a specific place or purpose, unable to rest until their emotional burden is resolved, a theme that resonates deeply within Japanese art and theater. In Chinese tradition, the spirit world is highly organized, and the belief in ghosts is deeply woven into ancestral worship. During the 7th month of the lunar calendar, the gates of hell are said to open for the Hungry Ghost Festival. During this time, countless hungry ghosts, the spirits of those who died without a proper burial, or who have no living descendants to care for them, are believed to wander the earth. People burn joss paper and offer food to appease these restless spirits. Across the Atlantic and Latin America, one of the most famous spectral legends is that of La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman. The story tells of a beautiful woman named Maria who, in a fit of rage after being scorned by her lover, drowned her own children in a river. Instantly filled with regret, she drowned herself, but her spirit was denied entry into the afterlife. She is now condemned to wander the earth for eternity, weeping and searching for her lost children near rivers and lakes. Her mournful cry, "Ay, mis hijos," which means "Oh my children," is said to bring misfortune to those who hear it. For those who seek a scientific explanation for ghosts, the most compelling answers often lie not in the external world, but within the intricate workings of the human brain. Our minds are pattern recognition machines, constantly trying to make sense of the sensory information we receive. This can lead to a phenomenon called pareidolia, the tendency to perceive a specific, often meaningful image in a random or ambiguous visual pattern. It's why we see faces in clouds, animals in wood grain, or a shadowy human figure in the corner of a dimly lit room. Grief and suggestion are also powerful psychological forces that can conjure a ghostly experience. For someone mourning the loss of a loved one, the intense desire to see or hear that person again can be overwhelming. The mind, in its effort to cope with the trauma of loss, may create a brief, vivid hallucination, a fleeting scent of their perfume, the sound of their voice, or a glimpse of their presence. Similarly, the power of suggestion is immense. When you enter a building that you have been told is haunted, your senses are on high alert. You are primed to interpret every creak, cold draft, and shadow as potential evidence of the paranormal. Sleep-related phenomena are another major contributor to ghostly encounters. Conditions like sleep paralysis can be particularly terrifying. During an episode, a person wakes up mentally but is unable to move their body. This is often accompanied by a strong sense of a menacing presence in the room, auditory hallucinations like footsteps or whispers, and a feeling of pressure on the chest. Finally, certain environmental factors can trick our senses in ways that mimic a haunting. Infrasound, which is sound at frequencies below the range of human hearing, has been shown to cause feelings of unease, anxiety, and even the sensation of a presence. The modern ghost hunter approaches the supernatural with a briefcase full of technology, seeking to capture objective data of something that has historically been subjective. The most iconic tool in their arsenal is the EMF meter, a device designed to detect electromagnetic fields. The theory is that spirits disrupt or create their own electromagnetic energy when they manifest. Investigators will walk through a supposedly haunted location, watching the meter for any unexplained spikes. However, skeptics are quick to point out that old buildings are often filled with sources of EMF, such as aging electrical wiring, pipes, and nearby power lines. Another cornerstone of ghost hunting is the search for electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs. This involves using a digital audio recorder to capture sounds that are not audible to the human ear at the time of recording. Investigators will ask questions into the silence and then play back the recording, listening carefully for faint whispers or words that seem to answer their queries. While believers consider EVPs to be the voices of spirits, critics argue that these are simply instances of auditory pareidolia. They suggest the brain is imposing meaning on random noise, radio interference, or even the investigator's own faint breathing. Visual evidence remains the holy grail for many paranormal investigators, and they employ a range of cameras to capture it. Night vision cameras allow them to see in complete darkness, while thermal imaging cameras detect heat signatures, searching for human-shaped cold spots. Another popular tool is the spirit box, or ghost box, a modified radio that rapidly scans through AM or FM frequencies. The theory is that spirits can manipulate the white noise and sound snippets to form words and sentences. Despite the technological approach, the methods of ghost hunting have faced significant criticism from the scientific community. Scientists argue that without controlled conditions, repeatable experiments, and the elimination of all possible natural explanations, the data collected by ghost hunters remains anecdotal. So, we return to our original question: do you believe in ghosts? After traveling from ancient Mesopotamia to the modern ghost hunting show, the answer may seem no clearer. Science offers plausible explanations for many hauntings, from tricks of the brain to environmental anomalies. Yet personal experiences and anecdotal stories continue to pour in from every corner of the globe, keeping the belief alive and well. The belief in ghosts speaks to some of our deepest human needs and desires. It offers the comforting possibility that our existence does not simply end with the final beat of our hearts. For those grieving, a ghost story is a story of survival, a testament to the idea that the bonds of love and consciousness can persist beyond the grave. In a world that can often feel chaotic and meaningless, the idea that there is another unseen world operating by its own set of rules can be strangely reassuring. Ghost stories also serve as a powerful cultural mirror, reflecting the anxieties and values of the society that tells them. The vengeful ghosts of ancient times reflected a concern with proper burial and social duty. The moralizing ghosts of the Victorian era spoke to a society grappling with rapid social change and inequality. Today's technological ghosts, captured on our phones and security cameras, reflect our modern relationship with surveillance and digital information. Ultimately, whether ghosts are real entities or simply products of our own minds may not be the most important question. What is undeniable is their power as stories. They entertain us, they frighten us, they make us think, and they connect us to our past. They allow us to explore life's biggest questions in a way that is both thrilling and safe. So the next time you feel a sudden chill or hear an unexplained noise in the night, remember, you're part of a tradition as old as humanity itself, left to wonder about the shadows just as our ancestors did. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit the like button, subscribe to Tommy James Most Random for more fascinating stories, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.